for 2025. But when you look around that room for 2016, I mean, there's if Taylor makes it, but he's got a big ass with Joey B. Is there any veterans of 2016 that who's around besides you?
Bonica. That's it.
It's you and Bonica. Damn.
Everybody, and aside from Taylor, if he
makes,
yeah, it will just be me and Bonica.
The more things change, I mean, the more we still got you guys. So let's talk about the day. First off, the prep coming into this, it looked like you were absolutely on fire. Your squat, I mean, you were hitting massive PRs. Squat was there. Deadlift, obviously, you had a point to prove with the deadlift. Your deadlift has always been a faithful weapon for you. How was the prep going into this?
Prep going into this was amazing, right? I don't have like the ordinary job. Like I'm not at home coaching all the time. Like I do teach, so I'm up on my feet all day, right? So I really had to dial in that prep if I wanted to be successful. And you know, coming off of not going to Iceland for Equip Worlds, having some procedures done, I didn't mention this on social media because I really wanted to process everything that was going on, but I did have some benign tumors that I had to get removed off of my uterus, and because of that, I was now able to go back to flats with squatting. No pain. As you can see, like in past videos, I had to tempo down some squats, and now, like, they're rushed. I can squat as fast as I want to and know that I'm not about to collapse at the end of the day. So having that confidence come back, it was almost surreal because when we even spoke about, like, well, what are we going to do for squat? Like, the range was so wide. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't even know what I can come up with anymore because here we are hitting 160 in the gym. I couldn't even fathom doing that like last year. Mm-hmm. So to be able to just have a prep like this and go into certain training sessions, not even worry about what the weight was on the bar any longer, I knew going into this competition was going to be a good one.
And going into the comp, for you, what was the main goals? Were you focused on Jessica Espinal? Were you focused on a national title? Were you focused on returning to Worlds? Or just focused on, I'm healthy, let me see what I could do while healthy?
Our biggest thing was always to do something that kept me healthy, right? And, you know, that could mean undershooting a lot of things. But, you know, going in, I just always knew I was going against Jessica, right? And trying to get back to Worlds, I knew I had to be at my top game. Like, I know her coaches spoke about it, me and my coaches spoke about it. We were so neck to neck that we knew it was probably going to come down to my last deadlift. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to compete, so it kind of just took a little bit of the pressure off of us, and it was like, okay, well, let's just have a fun day. Again, the end game being let's stay as healthy as possible so we can just play around with numbers how we want to. And that's what we went out there and did. I was like, you know, we don't have to push anything. World's right around the corner. Let's just do what we can. Let's have fun, push deadlift a little bit. And, you know, I think with the 205 being really easy, I really wanted to make a statement. I knew I could have gone heavier, but I was like, no, just do 205. I could have chipped that record and said, like, oh, just throw on like 201 or something, whatever it would have been. But no, I didn't want to do any chipping. I wanted certain people to know, like, no, I have a lot more left in me. So going into Worlds, like, it's like, oh crap, what is she bringing to the table now?
So is it the motivation when Jess drops out? Did it impact the motivation? Because you still posted up a monster 425, 15 kilo PR. So, and it did look like I talked to Kedrick afterwards, and he's like, she probably had 5 more kilos in the deadlift alone, which will bring you up to 430, but you didn't you put on a show, which I'm grateful for. I'm sure everyone else was, because you could have just waved to the crowd, thank you, yeah, I'll do my thing. But motivation-wise, when you found out Jess had left, what was it feeling like? Were you a little bit sad, a little disappointed, or was it, how did you feel on your end?
I wasn't sad or disappointed. There was a part of me that, you know, thought about her, you know, as I mentioned earlier, like I am going through Lent right now, so like I'm a very religious person, so I did say a prayer for her. Obviously, I don't know all the full personal details of what she has going on, so all I could do in that moment was just pray that everything was okay. I did not go up to her coaches, but I could just tell, like, in certain situations before finding out she was going to be there, she probably wasn't going to be there. But at the end of the day, my worry was never about Jessica. My worry was always about myself, and keeping that focus on myself. Because my biggest thing that I tell myself and other athletes, if you're so headstrong and focus on the other person, you may not have the day that you want because you're too busy chasing them. You never know what that lifter is going to do the day of. So if you're steady focusing on yourself, you're going to have the day that you want. So while I was praying for her and her well-being, at the end of the day, I still had my goals I needed to reach, and that's what I needed to focus on.
Is this maturity come from being in the game so long?
Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the fact that I work with first graders, right? I mean, that helps. That definitely helps. But it just comes from, I've been in these situations, right? I've had the moments where I've been at the very top, and I've had the moments where I've been what you would call at the very bottom. And, I can only hope that anybody else that's in that situation, they know how to get out of that situation the way I did. So, I mean, there's time, you're young, right? And, you just want to be that person that these younger lifters can come and speak to if they need to, because you do have those experiences.
So the day starts, Jess isn't there, but your main goal is Worlds, I'm assuming, grab another national title. And did you have some points to prove? Because you had mentioned beforehand, there was like a period where the total wasn't necessarily moving, but the work was there, and you had dealt with other issues yourself that you were kind of hoping for a good day. Do you feel like, what did you hope to accomplish once you found out, all right, Jess isn't going to be there, probably going to make it to Worlds, probably going to win a national title? What were you hoping to accomplish in that moment, and do you feel like you accomplished?
In that moment, I felt like what I wanted to accomplish was to prove to people, like, I'm still in conversations for a reason.
Right.
Like, y'all have seen me over the years battling these health issues, and some people, I think, just, counted me out at that point. Like, oh, she's not progressing at this point anymore, and that's okay that they felt that way. I knew where I was at. I knew what I could do. So get to the point where, like, I knew I was about to have a good day. Like, I knew at the second the bar was going back. I think proving to myself and proving to these naysayers, like, oh no, like, I'm still in this game, and I'm going to prove to you why I'm still here and why my name is still relevant. And then pushing into Worlds, like, I'm firing shots a little bit here. Like, I'm firing some warning shots here.
Right. Well, that's why 425 was pivotal.
Yeah.
To be in that conversation, like, this is a showdown.
Yeah.
Respect it that it's a showdown. Don't look at my previous. And this is a monster PR, especially in that weight class, to throw that many kilos onto your total. How did you feel at the end? When you were loading up 205, did you feel like I got a lot more left in me at 425?
Yeah, so, like, I know when a weight is about to be really easy. Like, when I'm pulling the slack out of the bar and everything like that, when I felt 205 with the slack, I was like, I know this is going to come up really easy. And I pulled 205 for a double in training, everything like that. I pulled 210. But if I was going to really be confident in myself, I fully believe that 210, 212 and a half was there yesterday. And Kedrick did message me. He's like, Heather, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and assume you're right, because our original opener, like when we were playing around, was gonna be 197 and a half. Jumped to 10 kilos, and then
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, like we weren't gonna chip anything at that point. Like,
Right.
the only reason we would have ever chipped anything is if it was between me and Jessica, and that chip was going to be the tell-all,
Yeah.
right? But when I go to Worlds, I'm not planning on chipping anything.
Really?
No. Like, when I go to Worlds, I'm not chipping it. If there's like a 200.5, no, we're not doing that. My plan is not 434 total. My plan is to demolish that. We're going.
Oh my gosh.
We're going 440s.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you.
This is crazy. But I'll back up. I talked to Kedrick as well. And I can back up what you're saying, where he's like, yeah, I was watching the stream, 5 kilos probably there. Obviously, you weren't pressed. Jess wasn't there, so you don't need to.
Yeah.
Take 205, which is a monster deadlift, eat the food on the table. But if pressed, we know the weapon is there, and there's more where that came from.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to miss a deadlift on grip or anything like that. Like, if the second it breaks the ground, I'm getting it. It's not going to be a matter of strength. It's not going to be a matter of grip. Like, if that breaks the ground, just know you're done.
And we were talking about before as well, your first U.S. Nationals, your first U.S. Nationals wins. What year and what cities were those?
2017 in Atlanta. We're back in Atlanta, and I
We're
went.
back. We come full circle.
We come full circle.
It has been a hot minute. As you reflect on all this, what are some of the biggest takeaways you could take from this journey? If there's any younger lifters watching this right now, listening to this on whatever platforms, what would you tell them some of the biggest takeaways from your journey?
I think the biggest takeaways, and I actually wrote this down yesterday morning. On the other side of fear, there's greatness. You just got to be able to work past that, because you're going to get scared. You're going to battle some injuries, and that's scary, right? You think you're done, you're out. But on the other side is your potential, and you just got to get in that mental mindset to say, I can keep doing this. And that has been like the biggest thing for me this whole journey, is to say, okay, on the other side of XYZ, there's this greatness that's waiting for me. And I know I've always known it was there. It may not make sense to other people, but it always made sense to me.
Right. Well, it's true. You got to go inside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable to be in these situations. It's uncomfortable to be in these showdowns under the scrutiny. Even if it's not a major showdown, it's uncomfortable that every single lift is scrutinized. Well, this didn't, even if it didn't go down, but just didn't move, you're like, well, it's stagnant.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. Was there ever points in time, because Sean Noriega, I had a podcast with him. He's got a battle actually today. And he just recently hit 850. And he had a stagnant period. As a matter of fact, it was even worse. He regressed. And there's a 4-year period where he not only failed to PR his total, but actually regressed in his total. And he's for 4 years, which is an entire career for some people. And he said there was a dark era where you start chin checking yourself and be like, oh my gosh, am I going to figure this out? Is this going to turn around for me? Was there ever points in there where you have newcomers in the game like a Jessica Espinal and obviously a Turbo Tiff who are doing these big things, where you start asking yourself, can I turn this around?
No.
Really?
I always knew I could still do it. Like, there was never a point where I'm questioning, like, am I still able to keep up with these people? Like, I don't know, like, if I just have a different mentality than other people, but the way I am like a person of affirmations. Like, I will look at myself and like, no, you are capable. You are capable of great things. Like, you just have to put in the work to be able to do it. Same thing with Sean. Like, when you do hit that plateau of 4 years and you start checking yourself, he's going to start changing up some things, whether it be a coach, whether it be some techniques. And then once things start clicking, oh yeah, I am capable of this. And that's what's going to push him to start doing these great things all over again. But it's all like, it's a mind game.
Yeah.
You can't lose that mind game. If you're not strong mentally, you're done.
Did you have to make adjustments, technique, training, whatnot, to stay relevant over all those years, or probably too many to even name over the course of the last 10 years?
Oh yeah, I still make minor changes nowadays. Like, if something's not clicking, if something's not working, like, I'm one of those people, I will pull out my phone and analyze that video. I'll zoom in, like, what is going on? And then I'll make little technical changes, and all of a sudden, things start flying again. But you can't be complacent where you're at. You can't be too comfortable and say, okay, this is working for me, because there's going to come a point where you're leveraging things. You gain a little bit of weight, you lose a little bit of weight, so you got to work around that as well, because weights may not be lifting the same way anymore. So I have to say that when people cut down, like, your leverages are going to change. You have to accommodate to those. And I think for me, just being mindful of, okay, let's switch this up, and being comfortable enough to change up my technique. Now, would I do it a week out? Probably not. But
Yeah, something really went wrong if you got to do that. But
I was wearing heels while I squatted, and the only reason I was doing that was because of a hip injury and because of all the pressure I was feeling. Now that everything of that is gone and I went back to flats, I had to readjust to wearing flats again. And people are like, oh my gosh, you're squatting. You should have always been wearing flats. I'm like, no, I physically did not wear flats at that moment. But, getting readjusted back to those flats again, and then seeing how things are progressing, like, that's where you got to take those little wins and just keep going.
a lot of people these days which weight classes. We were talking about beforehand, like we see a lot of it, and to great success at some points for Agatha is like at 3 different weight classes. God, she's like the queen of switching weight classes. You know, Evie, Shell did it for Sheffield. Sheffield's been a huge push for change a weight class, change it up on people. But you had mentioned how you have always been a 47, and I mean, it looks like always will be. Has it ever crossed your mind, or do you think not only you could speak on for yourself, but also what are your thoughts on some people looking to switch a weight class? Sometimes it works. Sometimes it might be trying to fix a problem and find a solution that's not actually the problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing you really can do is just try it out, right? If you say, hey, I want to do this fun competition and you want to weigh a little bit heavier, you know, I am going to bring up Tiffany Chapon real quick. You know, she's done competitions where she has weighed in above 47 kilos and she has done spectacular. So it always, you know, warrants the question, like, well, why don't you just move up, right? Not to say that she's not crushing it as a 47, like she is doing amazing things as a 47, but it always just piques my interest. I wonder what she could do as a full 52. And it's to that point where, like, as this weight class, am I still making progress, right? Or am I just depleting myself to the point where that progress is just no longer happening? And it could be a technical thing, right? But, you know, if you are doing these other weight classes and you are seeing significant strength gains, it wouldn't be a bad idea to try it out. Like you have Celine, she went up 2 weight classes, she's crushing it. And it all goes back to the mindset, like you do have those people that like, no, I need to stay in this weight class. Like they're so committed to a weight class and you feel like you may not ever see their full potential. But that's just something that you have to say within yourself, like, you know what, I'm done here. I need to see what I can do over here. And maybe you go over there and it's not great, you don't like it at all, and you're stronger elsewhere. That's fine too. But I do think it's always a good idea to just, especially as a younger lifter, to give yourself that potential to see what is out there.
You make a good point about using a fun meet, low pressure, take a look at it. So Taylor Atwood, Russell, or Taylor said, if he's got one regret in his career, and this kind of parallels a little bit with Turbo Tiff actually, he said, I had identified myself as a 74 so much, and I wanted my resume to be like whatever in that particular weight class. And he said, now looking back, of course, Taylor's an 83 now. If I would have moved to 83 in like 2022 or et cetera, and just went all in for a second world title, oh my gosh, what might it look like to be a 2-division world champ? But I get it, where he was like, not only did he see himself identified as a 74, but also you have this success in a weight class where you're like, the unknown is like, oh my gosh, to your point, what if I move up? I don't quite have that success. The gains aren't what I wanted. It's tough. It's difficult, especially if you're at that end. If you're more of a local lifter, whatever, what have you. But if it's worlds and you're like, I'm going to let go of a possible world title here, like, what am I doing? It's a tough one.
Imagine going up a weight class like Taylor did, and that's everybody that you're going against. You're going against Joe. You're going against Russ.
It jumped right into the shark tank.
Like that's your first competition, and then
welcome Taylor.
Like that is a lineup, and I'm just laughing about it because we're talking about like if you go to this new weight class and you're like, you know what, I just don't like this. Like if I was going against all those grades, I'd be like, I'm actually terrified of this.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
You're a small fish going into a big pond at this point. You're not a big fish in a little pond anymore.
Right.
You know, I am glad that Taylor did make that choice to go up to 83. I think that's a smart decision for him because he did do great as a 74 respectfully. But it does change the narrative of the 83 class a little bit. And it kind of makes you excited to see, like, what can he do as this? Because the confidence scale is there.
I mean, if
we're talking about winning solely on confidence, it's
if confidence threw 10 kilos under your total, he's got all 10.
Yeah.
Not a 9 out of 10. That's for sure. And there is, to your point, you get to actually answer the question before your prime years are over. how big and strong could I be before this is all over? Like, what's the biggest possible total I can achieve
Right.
before we're on the other side of it? And Taylor gets to answer that question. It looks like, judging by his prep, we're going to see the biggest, strongest version of him. And Russell, I mean, I was going to say maybe a little closer to his prime. Maybe I shouldn't talk about Taylor being out of his prime until after today's over, because God bless, we might see. Yeah, I don't gotta tell you. Yeah, you're like, no, hold on that, because you could see people take big jumps later in their career.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to see something great from Taylor regardless. Taylor is a great lifter. And I also think that him going up to this higher weight class, you're less likely to injure yourself, you know, because some people make drastic cuts. I'm not saying this was for Taylor, but some people do make those drastic cuts and then they find themselves getting injured very often. And so maybe this is a healthier class for him to where we can actually see him push himself a little bit more than we have in the past. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's what he's saying. Actually, his nutrition coach is your coach as well, Kedrick, and the extra calories are helping, and to come back feeling a little more rejuvenated in between these sessions. So we'll see what happens. And it's interesting where we have lifters like yourself, Megan Scanlon, Jurins, Shell, whom are seeing these jumps in their total later stages of their career, and to a large extent people thought usually it is like newbie gains, or as you enter in you're making fast gains and it's a quick trajectory. And we are seeing now more and more as the sport matures situations where no, you can go stagnant for a few years, deal with whatever it is, make an adjustment, and even then 10-year veteran, you find extra kilos. Oh, look, I just found another, to your point, for you, 15 kilos, huge in the 47 class. And then in other classes, the heavier the class gets, the bigger the total. It's like 30 kilos. Usually when you go into competitions, you're like, we've watched you for 10 years. You're not going to pull 30 kilos out of nowhere. We're kind of seeing that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm still going to be pushing that. I'm going to be pushing that standard a little bit. Like, just when you think there's no more to be added, I'm going to find it.
Right.
Like, pull it out of my pocket somewhere.
Yeah, you're checking all your pockets. Where is those extra kilos? But how much is it that when you see these other veterans do it, do you take a little bit of inspiration now where you watch them and now you're the wily veteran, you see another wily veteran, like, go get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Get him, sport.
Go get him, sport. Well, because Shell and Taylor, when they were younger in their mid-20s, were rivals in 74s. Now that they're in two different weight classes, now they're like two weight classes apart, and they're in the same spot in life, mid-30s, kids, family, what have you, and now they actually look at each other as inspiration, which is so funny how at one point in your life, they were on Kingless podcast. I remember they were talking shit back and forth, and they were like rivals. 10 years later, they're like taking inspiration off them. Like Taylor watches Shell, like, I hope he does well. Because that means, like, you do it, I can do it. And vice versa. Shell's like, get him, man. Show these young guys. Come back. Isn't it fun?
I think it's even more fun being, like, almost mid-30s now and still being able to compete with, like, 20-year-olds.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
We're still here.
Still here. And for you, so the sport is, you've seen the sport absolutely blow up. It's funny because at some point I was going back at some old pictures, and I seen actually pictures of you at the first nationals you were at, and it looked like, I don't even remember where it was held at, but the way it looks, the first Worlds, the way it looked, Killeen, Texas, if you look at like videos and what the stream looks like, what the staging looked like, it's nowhere near to what we have at Worlds now, which is like it's ruckus. The crowd is ruckus. Sheffield, the road to Sheffield videos and what SBD is doing with their content, all of this from live stream for King Lifts now. What the heck are we doing here?
I was going to say we have White Lights Media now.
It's wild. It's the wildest. And for you, do you think it's been a benefit to have grown with the sport? So do you think less overwhelming and you won't feel burnout or pressure because you've, as the sport took a step, both in competition and media and pressure, you stepped with it, as opposed to it took massive steps and then someone else joining up here at like 22, whereas like, no, I joined and grew with the sport.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it's like...
I think it makes a difference, right? Seeing how it has progressed over the years, like it's very humbling to look back at those past experience, like in Killeen, or even like when it was the first nationals I did was in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and looking back at those live streams, I was like, dang. Like, no wonder we didn't have a lot of people noticing this sport.
Right.
Like, it looked like everything was on a ring camera, but we do have White Lights Media. We have Top Set over there. Like, they are doing great things to be able to push forward like these videos to get people like interested in the sport, and that's I think why you see the growth just progressing at such a rapid rate right now, because people like are interested in this media. They're interested in these battles, and they want to see these battles happen. And that's just something you really didn't get. You didn't get like, I mean, yeah, there was Brett Gibbs and John Hack.
Yeah, that picture. Yeah, at that point, that was, it's funny you say that because you lived it. You were at that Worlds. It was so bizarre at that point in time that we had like a showdown people are looking forward to. Like, we have showdowns now, and they did like a poster together. Now it's like old hat. Every single comp, there's another showdown. Yeah. Every single comp. But at that point, it was like they're focusing on a particular showdown.
Yeah. And it's not like that was just one class that everybody was kind of dialed into. You're at a point now where it's every single class has a battle, every single one of them, and that's what you would want for the sport. You don't want it to be boring. Like, you want to have those storylines. And I think now in this age of powerlifting, that's what we're getting a lot more of.
Has your perspective, because you're going into another Worlds, first off, how many World Championships have you been to?
4?
I mean, it's funny. You've been in enough that maybe you got to use 2 hands to count it.
Yeah, because I stepped out of some for health reasons, but yeah, it's like,
It's your perspective for it all changed now that you're at where you're at now. You're in this point in your career going into 2025 in Germany. Do you think it's far different than, like, it's got to be from Colleen at least, but I mean, that was a whole nother, or Belarus, remember? Oh my gosh. But like, how different does this feel now at this point in your career and the sport?
I almost feel relaxed, right? Like, I go into these world championships without a care in the world now. Like, obviously, like, I want to do well, and I want to give people the show and do like my very best. But like, in the past, I would be just so anxious about everything. Where's my hotel? Where's this? Where do I need to be? Now, like, I could just sit back and relax and kind of just help younger lifters who are in that position, like, where they are just freaking out about certain things, and just like, no, it's cool. Like, what do you need help with? Like, let me help you, because I didn't have that back then. I didn't have people just kind of stayed in their own lane. But for me, I think, again, because, I am a teacher and I do possess that, like, motherly energy when it comes to that stuff. Like, when I see that happening to lifters at Worlds, like, I'm at a point now in my career to where I'm just, like, kind of mellowed out, like, hey, how can I help? And going into Germany, like, if there's lifters like that, especially with the new ones that have never been in this experience, like, I remember Malta, it was Natalie's first Worlds, like, whatever you need, just let me know. And again, for some reason, I had the competition skill in my room.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Yeah. That
was funny. There was definitely a miscommunication there. I just needed to compare the scales, and it ended up in my room. It doesn't matter. But I gave it back. Yeah, like, hey, do you need to come check your weight? Hey, do you need this? Hey, do you need food? Like, because the biggest thing I need for them is to just relax. And anything that I didn't have in these past Worlds experiences, I want to be able to give to these up-and-coming lifters, because they deserve it, and I want them to have that longevity in the sport. I want them to have the 10-year experience that I did. So.
That's tough. First off, like, in any sport, it's crazy, let alone powerlifting, which I think to a large extent, you came in initially at its infancy in pioneer days, and now you're in, like, the craziest times. It's so difficult to wrap, my head around how you could keep up. But anyways, we covered that. So how do you think somebody does stay in the game for 10 years? What advice could you give for somebody if they're looking to have longevity?
You're just gonna have fun, man. Like, if you're not having fun anymore, just quit, right? Like, if you are crashing out at every competition and making excuses for everything, just take a break. You don't even necessarily have to quit. Just take a break, take a step back. But, you have to enjoy what you do. You have to go into these training sessions having fun, not take it too seriously, right? And I think that is what's going to help keep you in the sport, is if you're enjoying it to the best of your ability. But the second you're no longer enjoying it, just take that step back. Figure it out.
What are your, I got the 5 minute here, so one last question here as we look at Worlds. What are your goals for Worlds? What are you hoping to get out of Worlds? The not only just like what you hope to achieve, put on the platform, but experience-wise, period.
What I hope for and what's going to happen are like the same thing. And this isn't it could be a jab, it could be seen as a jab. This is just me being honest in who I am. My hope and what I plan to do is to win, take the world record total, secure that card to Sheffield, and then just take it from there. Like I have a lot of plans. I kind of made a statement last night, and I plan on making a bigger one at Worlds. Like that's my goal right now.
And you know what? In sports, you want people to say, I want to win, I'm going to do this. And that should never be taken as a jab. All of you guys should say this and be able to say it without, oh, you can't say that.
Well, yeah. What would I look like saying, well, I kind of think I can win? Like, that doesn't sound confident.
No.
Like, oh, I might do okay. No, how you speak matters.
Yeah.
If I say I'm going to win, I've already planted that seed in my head. I'm going to break my world record deadlift. I'm going to break the world record total. I'm going to win. Like, I am manifesting that right now. Like, I'm not going in there looking scared. I'm not going in there with any less confidence than I have right here sitting at this table. Like, that is my goals. And I know that's somebody else's goals as well, which is totally fine. We're allowed to have the same goals. But just know when two people go head to head with those same goals, it's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I want that showdown that's been spoken about for 5 years at this point. I'm ready to give that battle again.
And that's, to jump on that for a second, that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Nobody as a viewer wants to tune in where if you have like two boxers and both like, well, I hope I do well, but if I don't win, I mean, it is what it is, and they'll be the next. It's like, no, please push your chips to the middle, go all in on this. And some people look at it like, well, what if you don't win? It's sport, it's okay. The sun rises, it's fine.
What was it? I don't want to say the person's name, but they were like, what would you do if you didn't win? I guess we'll never know.
Yeah. But I guess we'll never know. That's right.
We'll leave that person's name out because
Right.
it was that.
Yeah. But still, a fire quote. Well, listen, Heather, thanks for hopping on the podcast. Good luck in Germany, and we'll see you then.
Yeah. Heaven forbid I mention Kanye.
I mean, I knew it was looking kind of.